Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. We are going to share with you today about creating your own compost bin or compost pile, and we have loads of information for you. It's been a little bit delayed because here where we are in zone 8B, it has been raining pretty much every afternoon. When I wanted to do this video, as you can hear, my neighbors are all cutting their grass right now because it's been raining and raining and raining, and we all finally have a beautiful sunny day to get some stuff done outside. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Okay, so let's talk about compost. To have a successful compost bin, pile, whatever you want to do, there are 4 elements that you need. One is nitrogen, which I'm going to break down what that is. Carbon, I'm going to break that down. And then water and air. You need sufficient airflow. You need enough water, but not too much water to create an ample environment for the nutrients and everything to break down into a good compost that can be added to your garden. Okay, so let's talk about the nitrogen part of it. Nitrogen comes from like your kitchen scraps, vegetable scraps. When you're chopping up vegetables and those end pieces that you don't want to eat, you can toss those in a compost container and then take them out to your compost bed or pile, whatever you want to do. Those are all sources of nitrogen. Okay, so one nitrogen source is manure or animal waste, right? The 3 that I would say you could probably safely use is cow manure, which a lot of times you can find at any type of like Home Depot, Lowe's, those types of stores will have it for gardens. Any gardening store is going to have some type of manure. But another manure that's safe to use is chicken manure and also rabbit manure. Now, something to note though, with chicken manure, it is a hot manure. So if you're going to be adding compost directly into your garden, do not use that unless you know it's going to have a couple weeks, a few weeks to really break down and cool down. Otherwise, it will burn your plants and it's not going to be beneficial. Chicken manure is great for the compost pile because it will help heat it up. It will help break it down. It'll help promote good breakdown of all those nutrients and everything else, but it's not good to put directly in your garden because it will burn your plants. So be aware of that. Rabbit manure is safe to put right on your garden. It's cool. It's great to add, and it really does feed your plants what they need, which is how God created the cycle to go. So that's kind of how it goes. So nitrogen, food scraps, grass clippings is another nitrogen source. If you have a pile, you want to make sure it's at least 3 feet by 3 feet, 3 feet high, 3 feet wide, and grass clippings are going to heat it up really fast. So when you go to turn it, which I'm going to give you instructions on that in a minute, but when you go to turn it, you want to make sure you use gloves because it's going to be really hot. And you'll see when you go to turn it that it's steaming. And that's what you want for a pile. You want it to be hot and break down like that. All right, so those are nitrogen sources that are on hand that you have. Let's talk about carbon. Carbon are things like, let me turn this around so I can show you my bed right now that has a lot of carbon in it. Okay, so this is my keyhole garden bed. We are literally filling this with compost and dirt and mixing it up as we go, and we will not plant in this until it's full and it has some time to really break down, but we are filling this completely with organic matter. So this is the straw and manure that came out of the chicken coops. So the manure counts as the green and the straw counts as the carbon, the browns that we need. Another source of browns would be dried leaves, hay, pine shavings, wood chips. You want to try to use anything that's natural and organic as a carbon source though. I wouldn't use like the bagged mulch that you get at the store that you put around your flower beds to make it look really pretty. That's usually treated and whatnot. You don't really want that in your compost, especially if you're putting it on a vegetable garden. You want it to be something that's completely organic, that's not treated, no chemicals, anything like that. You want to protect what's going into your garden because eventually the food is going to be going into you and you don't want that to go into you. You are literally what you eat. So the more that you can do this with organic material that's not been treated or chemicals used on it, the better for ultimately for your health and for the future of your plants as well, because it makes them stronger as they continue to grow and flourish, and the seeds are stronger. It just creates a cycle of a really good quality nutritional produce as you organically grow them with a really nice compost. All right, now the other thing that I mentioned was that you needed water and you need air. Now you don't want to drain, or you don't want to like drown it, okay? You want to add just enough water. My friend's rooster is having fun right now. You don't want to drown it. You want to just put just enough water to kind of moisten it, and then have enough airflow to go through. So you don't want to keep it covered completely. If you have a bin, you want to kind of open it up and stir it every week and just kind of keep some air going into it. Otherwise it's going to get really musty and moldy, and then it's not going to be much good or use to you. So that's something to keep in mind. Now let me show you one of the ways that I do this, so that I have the nitrogens and I have the carbons all at once. So it helps me kind of keep a balance on the daily, like what I put into my keyhole garden. Let me turn this around again. Okay, so this is the compost bin that's in the middle of my garden. All of this is stuff that we've been pulling from, cleaning out the chicken coop, things like that. Or like my son dropped one of the bags there. That's not what I intended to do, but it works. So in we have a compost bin in our kitchen where we toss all of our vegetable scraps and coffee grounds and eggshells and things like that. And we keep a brown paper bag in it. So the brown bag counts as a carbon. If you're going to use cardboard or brown paper, you just want to make sure there's no like glossy tape or anything like that on there. You want to make sure it's all brown, all carbon based material. And if there's tape or anything, you want to remove it. If it's got one of those glossy coatings, like some cardboard packaging comes in, you don't want to put that in your compost bin. Go ahead and take that to the recycling, because it's not going to break down. It's not going to be beneficial for your compost. So just keep that in mind. But what I do is when I come out with the bag, or when I send my son out to bring the brown bag out of the compost out to the compost bin, we just toss it in there. We just dump the whole bag in there, because what happens is most of those vegetable scraps are already wet from washing them off. We have coffee grounds that are wet, so there's always a little bit of water in there, and then the bag itself is a carbon. So we just toss the whole thing in the bin, and it just kind of creates layers that break down over time. And that's the key to composting, is the layering. You want to have those layers. You want to have nitrogen, you want to have carbon, water, and air, and you want to stir it up periodically. You want to move it periodically to get some airflow in there, and just make sure that you don't just put too much nitrogen. What happens if you put too many greens? So this is one of the questions that I get asked sometimes by people, is why does my compost bin have all these maggots and mold and different things in it? Well, the reason is because you have too much nitrogen, too much water, not enough airflow, not enough carbon. You have to have a balance of that. And a lot of times if it doesn't heat up, it won't break down enough. So that's why when we say a pile, it needs to be 3 feet high, 3 feet wide. If you're gonna put it in a bin, you wanna make sure it has good drainage. So that means you need to drill holes in the bottom, maybe on the sides too, to make sure that as you add water, it's not sitting in there wet, but it's draining out, so it's enough to promote that bacteria to grow, to break down your organic matter. That's basically the essence of it. So the layering and whatnot is what helps really promote the breakdown of those organic materials. And then, a lot of times if you're using something that heats up fast, like grass clippings or manure from chickens, 2 to 3 weeks, if you do it right, you'll have compost that's ready to go in your garden, and then you'll have another cycle. And normally we have like right now we have the keyhole garden bed that we're working on, and the pile the bin that's in the middle. So we have 3 different compost sections going, and then we also have a pile on the other side of our house that's actually almost ready to come and fill and top off this keyhole garden bed. So we have multiple things happening all at different points in their process of breaking down, and the pile of course is a lot bigger, so hopefully very soon it'll be ready to fill this bed up. We're going to let it rest for a couple more weeks, and then we're going to start preparing it for our fall garden. It's a little too hot still. We're in zone 8B. It's like, I don't know, it's muggy and hot today, so it's still too hot to plant our fall garden, but we will probably by the middle of September go ahead and start getting that planted and growing. So that's kind of where we're at. So if you have any questions, please drop a comment. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We're going to continue this gardening series. We have a lot more we're going to share with you as we go, and we're also getting ready to introduce our chickens to you, so watch for that. We're going to do our chicken intros with all of our beautiful hens and our lovely rooster, and then we'll start sharing with you a little bit more about what it takes to raise backyard chickens and quail and rabbits. So stay tuned and keep checking back in. We're here to help you guys do any type of urban homesteading, whether you're on a 1/10 of an acre like we are, or you have an acre or 2 acres. Doesn't matter how much space you have, if you make the most of it and maximize on the space you have. So until next time, have a great day. Bye.